I always like to play from my back. I like to play the top game as well, but especially my early stage, like blue belt, purple belt, even brown belt, because my takedown was very weak. So you kind of almost get used to being on your back, you pulling guard. Even though that, of course, my passing was not bad. I had a good guard pass, but let's say my guard was better than my top game. And it's close guard. I remember I've been playing since I was young, like blue belt, because it's people they don't realize, but it's a one-sided position. If you're inside my close guard, you cannot attack me. That's not really efficient attack from the top in the close guard. It's completely one-sided. You have to fully defend yourself from my attacks and mainly focus in opening the guard. Like this is what you have to do inside a close guard. So you're not attacking me. I'm not in danger. You're not trying to pass. You have no mobility because you're stuck. We are attached. So it's a very good position for the person in the bottom, especially people with long legs. So I knew that. I knew that ever since my young age. So I always liked close guard. I always pulled close guard, and if you look at my fights ever since I was a blue belt, if I'm pulling guard, I'm pulling close guard. And when you say about the cross collar choke, jiu-jitsu is a very, very hard sport for you to be good at it. For you to be really good. It's not easy, and there's so many variations of attacks, so many different attacks, but it's the way I see jiu-jitsu is you try to dominate your opponent. Is a fight for dominance and control and submission. That's the whole point of it, and that's how I always saw jiu-jitsu. So what's the ultimate position that you can most control your opponent. There's two in jiu-jitsu, which they are the most dominant. It's mount and back. That's as a control and dominance over your opponent. That's the end of the line, because from there, the only thing after that is the submission. There's no more progression for the improving your position. Okay, you can think of, I will improve my position if your arm is here instead of here, but then we're talking like minimum details about the whole control of it. That's how you can most dominate someone. If you can mount another person, you're fully dominating that person. There's no doubt about it. If I get your back, I'm fully dominating you. Like, I have the whole advantage in whichever way you see fighting, sports, any type of style, any way you see it. That's how you can be the most dominant in a position to secure someone. And from that is submission. So that was always my goal. The way I see fighting, we start standing up. The end of the line for me is I'm either going to mount or get your back. Of course, you have a lot of submissions down, along the way. There's like dozens. I'm not against them, of course I'm not. But that's you. As long as you want to keep improving your position and your control, your dominance over your opponent, that's the end line. That's where you will see yourself, whichever direction you go. It's like in pull guard, takedown, or whatever way the fight starts. That's the end of the line, and then from there, there's only submission. There's nothing more. If I'm mounting on you, the only thing I can do more is try to submit you. There's nothing. I'm not going to go back to your guard to improve my control over you. I'm not in danger. It's mounting on you. So anyway, and if you start thinking like from the mount, what submissions are there? You have a few, but mainly is choke and arm, right? That's it. It's arm lock. Now, you have the Americana, but it's very hard. Let's say you don't see it happen very often. It does happen, but not very often. The most common is, let's say arm lock is the first. If you mount someone, the first thing, the most submission that you see people going in, arm lock, number one, no doubt. Number two is choke. It's either Ezekiel or cross collar choke, but you see much less, because it is much harder for you to choke someone than you attack the arm. And if you look, all my previous fights, my previous tournaments, you didn't see me choking people in the mount before, like, let's say 2009, when I finished everyone from the mount. Before, there was sometimes, rarely, I finished someone from the choke in the mount. It was hard. So it just took me years and years to develop. people didn't realize how long it actually takes for you to, I mean, it took me years, like years after I was a black belt, but it's the persistence, I always try to improve my skills in every aspect in jiu-jitsu, and I never stopped developing. And, the results it showed, especially in 2009. And the same way that I worked in developing my attacks, you don't see people developing the defense. People they just don't. You can get the highest jiu-jitsu players in the world. I mean, I'm pretty sure a lot of them have good defense in the mount. I'm not saying that they don't, but it's for sure that's not one of the strongest points, because I can guarantee they do not let people mount on them often and working on the defense. I doubt it. Of course they do, but not persistence in a way that is going to allow you to develop your defense in a very high level. So it didn't match them.
You talk about defense a little bit there, and how so I want to. This is a two-part question. As a competitor, and as a teacher, where do you kind of balance out your focus on defense and offense? So for you as a competitor, how much time did you spend like maybe positional sparring to defend positions? And as an instructor, how much do you kind of make your students kind of focus on defensive positions? Like I know at Henzo School, Danaher has a lot of the guys starting, with the arm bar or the back or mount. Do you kind of, do sort of those drills as well? Because I know when we talk about defense, your defense was impeccable, in your day, in your competition days. So you obviously spent time on defense, and that's sort of the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu motto, is having unbelievable defense. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean the time that I spend like offense and defense is the same. It's always the same, because with whoever you're training with, it can be your training partners, your student, or anyone. It's if we're going to practice mount, if I stay on top of you 5 minutes, now you stay on top of me 5 minutes. And it's been always like that ever since I was a yellow belt. That every time there's specific training, there's like something specific, is both sides. First you attack, and then you reverse the position, because the training is not specifically for you, it's for everyone. And even then, even though they might be just for you, but you cannot just worry about your attacks and not defense, or or the other way around. So it's the same. And you're saying about in the academy is the same thing. Like it's I'm giving them pretty much the way I learn is sparring. You have fun when you do full sparring. You're having fun, enjoying, you're training hard. But if you want to really develop your skill level, you have to do specific training, because it's very hard to develop much when you spar, because if you will know that when you spar, when you train somebody very good, how long will you be able to practice your mount if you mount that other person, because it's such a high, even if you do mount, you'll be like a minute of that training. It's not enough. It's for you to actually develop your skills, you have to be specific training.
So I kind of goes into a question that I had from Tim Spriggs. Obviously, we know Tim. He's a pretty world-renowned competitor, one of the best in the world as well. And he asked, as far as specific training, how did you study your opponents? And maybe even did you study your opponents before going into competition? Or did you kind of, go with what Hickson would say, with kind of flow with the go kind of thing? Were you going in there with specific strategies and tactics, or did you review tape before tournaments, or was it just, you were confident in your abilities and you kind of went forward at it?
I'm not really. I mean, I don't want to sound cocky, but I never really studied any of my opponents, like really study. Of course I watched their fights, but every time I went to, to fight, let's say in the World Championship, of course there was some names in my division, especially the top guys. I watch a few of their fights they had before on the internet. Back then it was not many, but you could find some. And as far from studying, that's all I did. I watched a few of their fights because I never care about setting up a strategy to fight anyone, because the moment that I do that, I will have to change my game pretty much, and instead of thinking, what do I have to do to block him? It's what I think is the opposite. I'm just gonna try to do my best. Whatever he comes up, I will try. I don't know what he's gonna come up with. So you cannot, I never cared about setting a strategy. Then saying, okay, this is what's gonna happen in the fight, because it is not. How many times you study something and it just doesn't happen the way the fight goes in a completely different way. Sometimes the guy pulls guard and you prepare for takedown. So all that training you did, what happened now? You lost. Now suddenly mentally it's like, oh, this is not what I trained for. What do I do? So, as far as strategy, it's like if the guy has like a amazing stand up, I'm just gonna pull guard. If he has amazing guard, maybe I'll try to pull guard before him. That's pretty much it. I never really care much about what my opponents will do, but not that I, like I said, I don't want to sound cocky. It's not that I don't care what they do. Of course I care, but I never prepare, because you will only know what they'll try to do against you when they try. And
Got it.
I rather implement my game than worry about, or having to change to deal with whatever they're trying to do,
Hello everyone, it's Roger Gracie, and today you'll see a series of videos I did on guard passing. So I did a lot of different scenarios, different ways to open people's close guard. I showed one of my favorites, a few others that I've been working on, and a few others that, regardless of size, anyone can use. And I did try to focus on my pressure pass. There's some other variations of guard pass, but I try to focus on pressure pass, which I think is extremely important